I'm just going to talk about what I found.
Yeah, I'm just reading it right off the study itself.
Okay, but it was 800 studies of human consumption of processed meats and whatever. But I'll just talk about what I'm looking at here. So the IARC, which is a division of the World Health Organization, they have 5 categories of what's carcinogenic.
Correct.
Group 1 is what they say causes cancer, which now they've brought processed meats, which mostly happen to be pork products, mostly. How about that? Group 2A probably causes cancer, which includes regular red meat and regular pork, beef, and lamb. 2B possibly causes cancer, which is everything in the fucking world is in 2B. And seriously, go look it up. Go look up their category of what's in 2B. It's everything. Group 3 is not classifiable as a cause of cancer, which is like nothing. And group 4, probably not a cause of cancer, which is aliens. So those are the categories, and I'm just going to go by this beautiful, I got to say, the most succinct single source of information about this is, believe it or not, The Atlantic, which, and here's the thing about this. First of all, my first skepticism about this report is everything I know in my life. My second skepticism is on Facebook and Twitter. Every damn nurse that I know immediately posted a photo of herself eating bacon on social media. So basically, everybody is shitting on how the World Health Organization communicated this new information. Because they communicated it like assholes, like saying, this is now going to cause cancer. And of course, anybody who wants to make a political argument of that, or perhaps a religious or polito-religious argument about that, is going to run with it. But even the normal common sense health professionals are like, you're idiots. And it's the World Health, or it's the Atlantic that I found to have been sort of the most common sense analysts of this. And what they're saying is that the World Health, the classifications that the World Health Organization uses, like they're not communicating that correctly. And I'm just going to kind of leave it with one quote. It says, "This sounds quite technical, but what it means is that the AIRC is in the business of telling us how potent something is in causing cancer, only whether or not it does." So they will, the World Health Organization will classify something as they'll classify something like smoking with something like fucking smoked meat, because they've accumulated enough studies to say that people that do that get cancer. And this professor says, to take an analogy, think of banana skins. They definitely can cause accidents, but in practice, this doesn't happen very often unless you work in a banana factory. And the sort of harm you can come to from slipping on a banana skin isn't generally as severe as being, say, in a car accident. But under the system like IARC's, banana skins and cars would come under the same category because they both do cause accidents.
That's correct. I mean, there's a lot of junk science in this study, and I don't know. I mean, just reading it sounds like nonsense. It sounds entirely nonsensical.
But I think the other thing is, Billy, like, why are you trying to rob people? Not you, why are they trying to rob people of their common sense? I think anybody who is moderately educated understands that if you have a certain product, a certain food product that's processed and processed and processed, and chemicals are added, salt is added, smoke is added, nitrates are added, maybe you want to complement your diet of that with other more natural foods. Is that out of the realm of common sense?
No. And according to the study, you would have to consume 50 milligrams of bacon a day.
50 grams of bacon. But you know what? That's not
50
that much.
grams.
But here's the thing.
It's a lot more than most people eat.
Right, because this brings me to my next point. Most people don't eat those types of meats every single day, but perhaps those who do, there are other dietary and lifestyle factors. There's other nutritional factors they're missing, because you got to say, like, these types of meat, this is a convenience. When you're eating this much processed meats in your life, it's out of convenience because maybe you're not cooking as much. Maybe you're on the go. I feel like I haven't explored these studies, but I got to say there are so many life factors that impact a disease like this that are being ignored, and that the focus is being on the food and not the person that's consuming it. Almost, if you will, in the nanny state, about the focus is being on the fucking soda. The focus is on the fucking firearm, and it's not taking into account the rest of the whole life of the human being about their responsibility.
Yeah, I like I said, I read through this study at the bar. It seems a lot of bullshit to me. I mean, if you just read it, like I said, the actual study itself says that most of what they have is based on rodent testing.
I gotta say I totally don't get that, because these were studies of people. So maybe we're looking at two different studies, but we'll figure it out.
I'm reading it from the IARC.FR's website.
Okay.
But even if it's not based on animal testing, which I suspect that it probably is heavily based on animal testing, the animals that they tested it on don't eat red meat.
And that's the other thing.
Rodents are not carnivores. They're scavengers. They'll eat just about anything. Anybody who's lived in New York can tell you that. I saw one get on the fucking train with a piece of pizza the other day. I mean...
Apparently that's a big deal now in New York. That's like the trend with the rats in New York.
Yeah. I mean, rats in New York will fucking eat anything. They'll eat pigeon if you let them. I mean, so the idea that, there are somehow rats that go around eating, bacon 12 hours a day is crazy.
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing. I think the other flaw, even presuming if all of those results were accurate, I think the other flaw is, again, the communication about it. Like, oh, it's going to increase your chance of this kind of cancer 18%. Well, it's relative. It's all relative. And again, we talk very often about how deceitful and deceptive statistics are, and polls, and that sort of trying to influence people by math. That the chance of that type of disease is already at like 5%. So if you increase your dietary habits with these meats, because you are a huge consumer of these meats, increase your chance of that disease by 18%. That means, okay, it goes from 5% to 6%.
Yes.
But what's going to happen is that the advocates for running our lives, one way, either because of a, jihad, if you will, or because of you're a Michael Bloomberg, they're not going to communicate that incremental part, that marginal part. They're going to communicate, holy shit, 18%. And that's frustrating.
I would think you have a much greater chance of developing some type of cancer from just breathing the air in New York City.
Yeah, good point.
That's just me. But no, now, talking about polls and facts and figures, you know who suddenly has no interest in polling right now?
Yes, I do, but I'm not going to
Donald
say that
fucking
name. You had to say it.
Donald, he who shall not be named.
You had to say
Donald
it.
Trump has absolutely no interest in polling for the first time in 6 months. That's Windy Windbag has no interest in polling because a black man is beating him by 11 fucking percent. So now Whitey McPrivilege has no interest in the polling because it shows a neurosurgeon that doesn't know what the Second Amendment is about beating him by almost 15%.
Well, that doesn't
ain't good
help
for him.
conservatives.
That ain't good for him. But you know what polling tells us a year out from the election or more? Do you know what polling really tells us?
Tells me nothing, but let me know.
It tells us that Ralph Nader will be president.
Oh, God.
It tells us that Ron Paul is the greatest Republican candidate to ever run for election. And it tells us that in 2008, Herman Cain's 999 plan won him the election against Mitt Romney.
That was 2012.
Right. I get the years.
I see what you did there, Billy. We'll see. Now you're making this a very spooky episode.
But yes, polling tells us a lot about nothing. What polling tells us is that people who are willing to say virtually anything, or to say something of little substance with lots of shock value, audit the Fed, 999, better seatbelts for your kids. Catchphrases build a wall. Catchphrases do well. They test well. Some pervert in a suit probably created them with a focus group while he was eating a fucking sandwich from Arby's, and then he dumped his ass in the bathroom later, and that was the thought that he came up with.
Goodness.
The idea, sorry, that's disgusting. That's what Arby's does to me. It makes me sick.
Take it easy.
But, polling tells us precious little anything. It tells us that slogans and buzzwords do well, but in the end, bullshit walks and money talks. Ron Paul, Herman Cain, Ralph Nader, fucking Howard Dean, they all raised shit tons of money. And they had great campaigns, and they had great slogans, and they sold a shitload of merchandise and t-shirts and books and retarded bumper stickers that people now in vain try to scrape off the back of their frickin' car with an ice scraper. But it doesn't win elections. And so in the end, Fiorina and Trump and Carson, they'll be remembered for their slogans, not the fact that they won or lost. People will look back and say, hey, you remember when Carly Fiorina got pissed about abortion, or Donald Trump was going to build a wall, or Ben Carson had a tax plan he couldn't fucking remember how to say? That's what people will remember. So when Marco Rubio is sitting in the White House laughing his fucking ass off, Donald Trump will still be on TV selling shitty European hookers to white men. Or marrying them, whichever one.
I was going to say marry. I'm like, that's usually who he marries.
So.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, Billy, I would be delighted with Marco Rubio in the White House. That's for sure.
Anybody but Trump. 2016.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got to get out of here. Where can everybody find your delightful ass?
Don't find me.
Okay. You can all find Laid Dowd and pre-recorded voice at Midnight Movie Cowboys and the Snark Factor with Fingers Malloy. So much thanks, as always, to our Polititainment Network and our K98 Talk Network, and especially to our executive process foods chef, Ricky Robinson at K98 Talk, our producer tonight. we can't wait to see you next week.
Living